Good Sunday morning, and welcome to this garden live, where I'm here each and every week to answer your garden questions and to help you go from some garden glory, well, maybe from the Garden of Whedon to the Garden of Eden. For those that don't know me, my name is Frank Ferragini, aka Frankie Flowers of City TV's Breakfast Television, as well as City Line. You can see me Monday through Friday on City TV, where I'm wild about weather, passionate about plants, and if you're wondering, how did I become Frankie Flowers? Well, I often joke that I'm a product of child labor, but I'm not. My family owns and operates two garden centers, one in Bradford, one in Barrie. They're called Bradford Greenhouses Garden Gallery. They're greenhouse growers, but previous to that, we were farmers. We farmed in the Holland Marsh and in the Cooksdown Marsh, growing lettuce, romaine, Boston, leaf, endive, escarole, carrots, onions, celery, cauliflower, broccoli, cabbage, you name it, we've grown it. Yeah, so I got a good morning there from I guess it is T-Bone is the name, Camaro. Good morning from the Holland Marsh. There we go, right there, right away from the Holland Marsh. Good morning, Frankie, says Jessica. I want to go over here to some questions that we had from last week's broadcast, and this is from Anastasia O'Grady. What's a good blue flower to plant with sunflowers? And what I love is this community here will then go and answer some of the questions. And I can see that Terry says cornflowers. And then Anastasia said, thank you. But I would also recommend a really nice blue flower to go underneath a sunflower is Mystic Spire's Spirea. It is a wonderful Spirea that is an annual. There are some blue varieties of, not Spirea, Mystic Spire's Salvia. It is an annual salvia that is blue, and it is absolutely fantastic. And one that you have to plant year after year, but it really fills in, and it's one that is absolutely fantastic. Morning from Richmond Hill, says Ruth. We have a good morning there as well. Replying from Lynn Smith. Here's another one that we have this morning. Good morning, Frankie Flowers from King City. Here's a question that we have here. This is from Lisa. First question. What on earth do I do with bugs on my indoor plants, the white sticky ones? So generally the white sticky bugs that you see on indoor plants are what are called a mealybug. And that mealybug is fairly difficult to take care of. You can do some sprayings of insecticidal soaps like Bug Be Gone. You can even go to those where you see the infected areas and just take a cotton swab with a little bit of a weak dilution of alcohol and go to wipe those. But if the plant's poorly or really infested with a lot of these mealybugs, you're probably better off to discard and get rid of that plant and to start over fresh, because it's really hard and difficult. But take a look online to mealybugs and you'll find out a little bit more there. We have Maria saying, and this is true, happy Palm Sunday. Happy Palm Sunday to you as well. Here is another question that we have. This is from Connie. Morning, Frankie, from Lindsay, Ontario. Should I cut my tree peony back? No. I would just leave your herbaceous tree peony alone. What I would do is wait till it starts to leaf out and green up and start to bud out, and then just remove any of the dead sections that you see or damaged sections that you see at that time. I don't want you to prune too much on that because you can harm a tree peony. If you're wondering, there are different varieties of peonies that are out there. A tree peony is a woody stem peony that's a little bit taller of a plant itself. It's not your classic peony. If you had a regular peony, let's just say a traditional peony, that's one that you could cut down to the ground. You should probably have done that in the fall. This is Jerry Lynn, forgive me. Hi, Frankie. I'm in Bowmanville. Is it still too early to put down my Scott's grub killer? It is. I'm glad that you brought up the question about lawns. So really for the grub control or the grub be gone, we want to wait till soil temperature is warm. So we want soil temperatures, and it has been quite cool, because we want those grubs a little bit closer to the surface. You can apply it now. It'll control some of those grubs, but you would have to reapply. What you should be applying to your lawn over this weekend or over this week is what's so-called a weed preventer. Or if you want to prevent weeds, weeds like crabgrass, if you had problems with crabgrass in the past, this is the weekend or week that you put down that weed preventer with corn gluten. That corn gluten will coat those weed seeds, and by coating those weed seeds, it'll prevent things like crabgrass from germinating. The only thing about when you put a weed preventer down, like a Scott's weed preventer, that corn gluten, you can then not put down grass seed for 6 weeks, because that corn gluten will prevent the germination of any seed on your lawn for 6 weeks. And then what happens is your lawn starts to thicken up, not give the space for those weed seeds to germinate, and that will reduce any of those weed seeds that are sitting there from germinating and causing you problems on your lawn. You could do some fertilizer down too. Okay. We have Tanya on there that's answering some questions. I'm hoping Tanya will pop on with me in about 6 minutes as well. We'll see if that works out. Good morning from Burlington. When is the best time to fertilize emerald cedars? You're going to start to see, as soon as we start to see leaves on trees outdoors and we start to see those leaves start to emerge, that's when everything's coming out of dormancy, and that's when you can start to fertilize those emerald cedars. The emerald cedars, you could use a water soluble, or you can use a slow release like a shake and feed, and that will help to really push some green on those cedars. For cedars, you're looking for something with a higher first number nitrogen is what you're looking for a fertilizer. This is another question that we have here. Good morning, Frankie. I would like to purchase a hydrangea tree this year, and I was wondering if they have an extensive root system. I'd like to plant it in my front garden close to the house. Thank you. No, they are actually a fantastic foundation plant, and the hydrangea standard. So essentially what they've done, if they've taken a hydrangea bush and they've grafted it on top of a stem, and that creates that standard. Some of the PG varieties, the standard, and you'll see them, they're called either a tree or a standard. So when you're looking for them, either or. I like the little limelights or a quick fire. Quick fire as a standard is fantastic. I had it at my previous home, and what I loved about hydrangea quick fire, it blooms white, then goes to a pinkish color, and then near the end of the season goes to red. That's a fantastic one. This is another question that we have about the lawns, and I knew we'd get lots of lawn questions today because people are really excited about improving their lawn. This is Irene. Good morning from Stratford. Can I plant grass seed now? You could put it down, but it's not going to do anything. Soil temperatures need to be between 15 to 20 degrees for your grass seed to germinate. So it's still a little bit early to put grass seed down. If your lawn, when you go on your lawn, is firm underfoot and it's not too soggy or wet, you can rake the lawn, do some dethatching. You can go out and hand remove some weeds. So some dandelions that you see that are existing on there, hand remove. And then what we'll do is we'll fertilize or put the corn gluten down to prevent any weed seeds from germinating, fertilize. And then around the middle of May is ideally the time to put grass seed down because it'll be warm enough that that grass seed will germinate. If you put grass seed down now, you may get some germination, but a lot of it could blow away. You could have birds that will eat it. And then also if it does germinate and when it gets cold again, you can have some harm that are there. Here we go. Another question. Late season for dandelions. Oh, went to pick for sale and they were very little in spring. Last year, this time I picked 2 large pails. Do we eat this wild weed? Oh, this is talking about dandelion. So it's talking about picking dandelions. And this is something that was quite common in the past where people you'd see on the sides of roads. And a lot of the times it would be Italians that would be out there or Europeans picking dandelions. And dandelion is an edible weed. It's actually every part of a dandelion can be used from the root to the flower to the foliage itself. It's actually high in iron. It's a fantastic plant. Do I eat this wild weed? I have in the past. Now it's chicorée is more readily available at grocery stores. It looks much different than the weed that you have. And I eat dandelion often. I just don't eat the one that's in my lawn. And the reason being is I have a dog. My dog's out there peeing and things like that. So I don't know if I really want to eat those ones. Have you heard of jumping worms? Yes, I have. Do they attack flowers or just shrubs and trees? The jumping worms actually do not jump and attack anything. The jumping worms are an invasive species of worm that will really impede and really harm your soil quality. So with that, they can actually cause the breakdown of different plant material because it really impacts the soil that they're planted in. The jumping worm doesn't really jump, and more that squiggles. There has been sightings of jumping worms in the province of Ontario, in Toronto, as a matter of fact. And the fear is that these worms will take over our native species of worms and then really harm our soil quality. So now, if you do see a really weird worm that almost when you touch it looks like a snake, it's going to do that motion of a snake. That's the jumping worm, and you should report it. There are some, if you just go online, and maybe I should put some links down. Jumping worm. Okay, there we go. Good for the question. What do we got here? Another question this morning. What is the best way to get rid of burdock, or is digging it the only answer? Burdock's actually also a medicinal plant that you can consume and eat and use some benefits of it. I wrote about burdock with my good friend Bryce Wild in this book that we wrote called Power Plants. it's best to hand remove. And then mulch the area where the burdock's growing. It does have a large root system. And even if you were to go to dig it, you want to make sure that you're removing the root as well. Same with dandelions. Dandelions especially. If you just break that root off, it's going to grow and actually grow bigger and badder. So you got to try to remove the root as well. Here we go. This is another question. What is a good product with corn gluten? So Scott's Weed Preventer is the one that I would recommend. So if you see Scott's Turf Builder Weed Prevent, that has corn gluten in it. Corn gluten itself is not, it's fairly expensive of an application. It's really good. It works really well, but I would put it down right before it rains because the corn gluten is made out of corn. Sometimes you put it down, you'll see a lot of birds go and grab it, but it's a great first step that you can then fertilize thereafter. And you could fertilize with the Scott's Turf Builder. Something like even Green Max is really good as well. Good morning, Frankie. This is my first year starting a vegetable garden. When is the day of plant seeds in the garden beds? Thanks for your help. When is the day of plant seeds in the garden beds? This is for Brenda. So Brenda, when you're going to sow seeds into the garden beds is near the end of April to the first 2 weeks of May, forgive me. End of April, first 2 weeks of May. We're going to be frost-free generally across the provinces around the middle to end of May. But some cold, those crops that you can sow a little bit earlier, see to the end of April, could be things like radishes. You could do your carrots. You could do onions that you could sow those seeds of. You could do lettuce, all those cool crops. You're going to see there's cool crops and warm crops. The seeds that I wouldn't sow at that time, at the end of April, beginning of May, are things like beans and peas and squash. If you want to do a direct sow, do those at the end of May, the beginning of June, because they're more of a warm crop. And we need warmer temperatures at that time. So we're at 9:11. I'm just going to see, I've never done this where I actually have a guest join me on here. So I'm going to see if Tanya will try to click that link and see what will happen and see if I can get her to join. Can you? I'm just texting her. Click. You guys are seeing this real time because there's just one of me here. Oh, there she is. She's right there. Okay, so let me see how this thing works. There's Tanya there. And then I think I can do it like this. There she is.
Okay. Hey, good morning.
Morning. How are you?
A little jet lagged, but I'm good.
Yeah. Let's first explain, Tanya, why. So Tanya's from Ball Flora Plant Selecta. That is one of the biggest, it is probably one of the biggest horticultural companies in the world that supplies live plants, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And Tanya has been a jet setter over the last few weeks. She's just going to join us shortly today to kind of tease what we're going to talk about next week. Next week, we're going to go into and dive into some new plants. But tell me a little bit first off, California. What was going on in California?
So for the last 2 years, we haven't been able to really host our typical cast, which is California Spring Trials. And it is a trip where all the breeders around the world are present, and you travel up the coast of California, up the one, and all the breeders have their up and coming genetics on display. So we welcome growers, we welcome retailers, we welcome consumers. Everyone is welcome to attend. And it's more like it's a showcase. There's gardens on display, all the new plant material from perennials, annuals, vegetables, everything's there. It's a great industry event, and we were finally able to go again this year since COVID started. So it was very exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting. I think the from breeder's bench to gardener's fence takes about 5 years of development.
Yes.
So you're seeing some things that have been worked on for several years. And is there anything, well, just give me one teaser. We're going to show the plants next week. What's one teaser that you just loved? What was one plant?
One teaser that I just loved was a new Angelonia from Ball Flora Plant. Our breeder, Laura Macer, has been working on this for years. And Angelonia is a very underutilized plant, I find. People are looking for a season extender, something that'll thrive through the summer and bring the pollinators to their garden. And Angelonia is definitely that item. Big, beautiful, large, double colored blooms. Absolutely stunning. I can't wait to show it to everyone next week.
And in hot climates, hot summers, it's something that will stand up. It's a really tough, durable. It's a can almost run it over with a lawnmower.
Yeah.
Kind of. And then what was going on in Europe? So you went from California.
Yeah.
You came home
for a couple of days.
And then you flew to, where were you in Europe?
I flew to the Netherlands and then down into Germany. I was traveling with Selecta, and we were looking at dianthus selections for 2024.
So that
Dianthus is a big item, big introduction for Selecta coming up in 2023, because we can finally start shipping from offshore, which means the farm in Africa is cleared and certified to ship into the United States and Canada.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize where the plants come from, and there are breeding facilities and farms all over the world. Like your garden's a collection of international friends.
It is.
Yeah, there's everything from Israel to Africa to
Guatemala, Nicaragua,
Mexico.
Yeah.
There's all over. Okay, so next week we're going to have you join us here. I'm going to let you go today. We're going to do this today, but I know that you're tired. And but next week we're going to be here, actually here at my house, because we don't live far from each other. And we're going to talk about some of those introductions that came out, some of the new plant varieties. And you were maybe saying that there may be a giveaway too.
Yes, I think we have something in store. So bring your thinking caps and pay attention during the broadcast, because I think we'll have a prize.
Yeah, so we're going to have that Easter Sunday, 9 a.m. So Tanya, go get some rest.
Thanks, guys. Have a great show.
We'll see you soon. Okay, guys. So once again, that's Tanya Carvalho. Tanya, a little history as well. She, as you know, she lives in Unity. We worked together at my family business, and then she excelled, and she went on to be the territory manager of Canada now in terms of supplying and helping out greenhouse growers from all over. So that's kind of fun. Here we go. This is another question that we're going to go right to. This is Rashid. Is chicken manure is good for indoor plants? So the nice thing about chicken manure is if they're pelletized, is they're odorless, and you could use it for an indoor plant. I would more so use a water soluble. A chicken manure is pelletized, meaning that it takes time to break down. It's high in calcium. So if you want to do some organic gardening and maybe you're growing food indoors, you could do that. But I'd be more inclined to use a water soluble. It could be like a Miracle Grow. If you want to do something that's more organic, you can even use a fish emulsion fertilizer. Here's another question. Frankie, when is the best time to spray my fruit tree? So now it's a dormant spray kit that you're going to be using on a fruit tree. Those dormant spray kits are what's going to really remedy or reduce the amount of disease or insects that we had over winter on those plants. So go to your local garden center, look for your dormant spray kit. That dormant spray kit can be applied on deciduous trees, especially fruit trees and even some of the roses, and that will really help out. We got to make sure the plants are in dormancy. They still are in dormancy. The average daytime high, so probably tomorrow or the next day would be the better day, should be above 5 degrees for at least 6 hours. So you spray it, and as long as it's above 5 degrees for at least 6 hours, you are fine. Here we go. We have a hydrangea question, I think. What about caterpillar on my hydrangeas? So if you're talking about hydrangeas, typically, you'll see your hydrangea leaf, and that hydrangea leaf will curl. And inside that curl of that leaf is generally a bug. Often all you need to do is just hand remove those curled leaves and just put them into a plastic bag, tie it up, throw it in the garbage and discard them. If you do have caterpillars on your hydrangeas, you can use a BTK. BTK is Bacillus thuringiensis. It's one that really does take care of caterpillars quite well. You can also use a Bug B Gone, and then there's also you'll see that this year there's a new product out there that's called Beetle B Gone. And that Beetle B Gone probably could be used as a spray on caterpillars as well. But BTK is a really good one as well. Just to shout out to say good morning. And that's from Paula. Good morning to you. This is another question that we have here. And this is from Priya. I had new grass laid in September. Tips on grass care, how to maintain and grow healthy grass. Probably the easiest thing that you can do now so it's rooted. It was done in September. You want to do 3 fertilizing. So you want to do a spring fertilizing, a summer fertilizing, and a fall fertilizing. The easiest way to kind of maybe put it into your mind is you can do a fertilizing in spring. You can do Easter, or you could even do the long weekend in May. Those are the 2 times. But because Easter's a little later this year, we could do Easter this year. If it was an earlier Easter, it may not do, but let's just say that you're doing it at the beginning of May. You do fertilizer in the beginning of May, you do your summer fertilizer July 1st, and then you do your fall fertilizer on Thanksgiving weekend. Key for a really healthy lawn as well is that cutting the lawn, you should be cutting it a little. I always like to recommend people cutting it at about 3 inches of height little bit taller is a good way. You're going to cut one way one week and cut the opposite way the following week. Raking your lawn in spring because it was just laid, you don't necessarily need to rake, but you just would need to remove any debris. If it was a lawn that was laid in September, there shouldn't be any bare patches, but if there are, in about mid-May, just put some extra grass seed down and just to thicken the lawn up. The fertilizer will help thicken the lawn up. And then when you're cutting your lawn, always make sure you have a lawnmower with sharp blades. It's a good time right now because we're not cutting our lawns yet to get your lawnmower blades sharpened. Here's another question that we have. Is it safe to fertilize around a waterway? It depends on the fertilizer itself. And indeed, we don't necessarily want to fertilize anything that's going to release phosphorus into the waterway, because if we do that, we're going to get the increase of algae. If we get the increase of algae, then we're going to actually impede and really harm anything in that waterway itself. So we want to really try to not have that release of fertilizer into that area. So if you're using some slow release fertilizers, or if you're using a water soluble fertilizer, it's probably, if you're near a waterway, then you're after rainfall, you go and fertilize your lawn and or garden with a water soluble. That's one that you mix with water in your hand applying. That's a direct feed. That'll be it. The reason why we do it after rain is that the soil is actually open. The fertilizer will be easily absorbed right into the soil, and there will not be any runoff that would then go into the waterway. So that's there. Okay. And a great question, by the way. I was at the Cottage Life show yesterday speaking. We gave away a whole bunch of Rios. Dipilogenia is one of my favorite plants. The Cottage Life show itself was a lot of fun. There was a lot of people there. It was a big show. It turned out really, really well as well. So those that saw me at the Cottage Life show, it was nice to see you there yesterday. Good morning. Random question. Love it. But why does my ivy always die? What is the underrated garden perennial flower that I should try by this year? So it'd be really interesting to know what ivy you're purchasing, because there's several different ivies. There's Boston ivy is probably one of the more popular ivies that people put on the side of their homes, and then they regret it and they want to bring them down thereafter. First thing that we would want to do before I recommend anything, the perennial plant that you should buy this year, is it sun or shade? So just email me, Kelly. Email Frankie with an IE at frankieflowers.com. Take a picture of the area where you want this perennial to be. Also, I need to know, is it sun or is it shade? So just let me know what the light is in that area, and I can give you a recommendation for sure. Hi. And then we got this one, Sherry. She said, "Hi, Frankie. Enjoy yesterday? ? I did. Corn gluten done. So that's awesome that she got your corn gluten down, which is really good. I did. I totally enjoyed being on stage at a show and seeing people. We need to be careful right now, but it's just nice to get some way back to normal, and also the energy of people. Like, this is great. I love this. We're talking, we're doing. There's nothing about more than the energy of a group of people. That's it. Christine, is there a fertilizer that is safe for pets and wildlife? So most fertilizers, so the Canadian Food and Inspection Agency, CFIA, and some of the other bodies that regulate fertilizers for consumers in Canada are very strict. And because of that, the formulated fertilizers that are available for sale for your homes are formulated in a way that they're not going to be harming pets and or wildlife if applied appropriately. So like a Scott's Turf Builder is a slow release fertilizer that, when applied, and if you apply it just before a rain, that fertilizer will actually somewhat be already absorbed, but it releases over time. It won't harm your pet's feet or anything like that. Some of the fertilizers that people or some of the weed controls that they're purchasing from maybe other places and bringing them in, smuggling them in, those are the things that you have to be worried about. Sometimes people would recommend, in order to repel certain animals, to put mothballs out. Well, mothballs can be bad to pets, and they can also be bad to children. But those products that are available for sale right now at your local garden center and or home improvement store, they're not going to harm. They won't harm if applied and used properly. This is from Genevieve. Good morning, Frankie from Brampton. What is a good fertilizer for the grass? I love Scott's Turf Builder. Of course, I do work with them, so just let you know, but it's what I use on my lawn. And this is new home that I'm in that's going to be coming up. Last summer was my first spring-summer growing season here. You can ask my neighbor. I had I bought this home with a bad lawn, and by the end of the summer, I had the best lawn. And the best lawn was with the 3 fertilizing. I also used a product called Scott's Lawn Response 911. It's a mulch, a fertilizer, and a seed. So it really helped me thicken the lawn up. But I went from 0 to hero last year, and I just got to keep it up. You got to keep it up. So just look for Scott's Turf Builder. It's got a high, nice first number. So we're looking to green up that lawn. And it's great. It's great overall. I wonder if I have. Yeah. And then there's this one too. If you're looking, this is Green Max. Ooh, there you go. My camera's following me. This is Green Max. So this one here, if you're looking to green your lawn up quickly, within 3 days, your lawn will green up. So if you're looking for a quick greening of the lawn, and this can be applied in the spring as well, this is a 2702, and it also has 5% iron. That iron is what gives you that quick green up. So if you're looking for a fast greening of the lawn, or just the regular Scott's Turf Builder is also a fantastic, no filler added fertilizer. It's amazing. Okay, let's go and see here. We got another question, and this one here is from Ashley Brown. Is it too early to transplant, move some perennials around? No, go for it. It's actually, I love spring to do the transplanting and to do the division. We have cool conditions as long as there's no frost in the ground. If it's frost in the ground, you're not going to have a good time doing it. But we have cool days with rain. That's fantastic. That doesn't stress plants out. So now is a perfect time. If you had a clump of hostas that you want to move and divide, go ahead and do it. Those little eyes will be popping out, easier to work with before you get all that foliage. So I would go for it. The only thing is any of those perennials that are spring blooming perennials, if you go to divide and move them, you may lose some of the flowers for the season and the season only. Here we go. Replying. This is good. You can transplant as soon as the ground can be worked. Now is the perfect time. Also perfect time to divide and move perennials in your garden. Maria, we agree. There we go. This is a question here. Can I cut up a branch of maple tree now? This is from Rashid. Rashid, if it's a larger maple, if it's a large branch that you want to remove, I wouldn't. Because now, maple syrup season has started. And what is maple syrup season? It's when we're seeing things flow. So that means that the sap out there is flowing. So it's not the time to be doing any major pruning of maple trees. You would want to do those when they're in dormancy. And when they're in dormancy is more so towards the winter. That's when you really want to be pruning your maple. So I wouldn't be doing it. But if it's a small branch, inward growing small branch, or a branch that's broken and or has some damage, you can prune it. You don't need to put pruning paste on. It will heal itself. Here's another question. Well, this is Matthew, my good buddy Matthew. And Matthew gives me updates on all the different signatures he gets from celebrities from around the world. And he has a great collection of those. Frank, I just wanted to congratulate you on your award. Thanks. And that award is not just my award. That award is Breakfast Television was voted by the CSA, the Canadian Screen Awards, which is the peers, kind of like what the Oscars would be for Canadian television, as best morning show. And it's a pleasure just to do my job each and every day and the people I work with. And it's a pleasure to have people like Matthew that watch our show and the viewers like all of you as well. I have a lot of fun. And it's great just to be able to share my passion as well. Here we go. Another question that we have here, replying to Frankie Flowers. What is the best fertilizer for planting spring garlic? So your garlic that you should be doing is a fall plant. So in order to grow garlic, we're planting garlic last fall, and then we're going to be harvesting it this late summer. Sometimes people will try to plant in spring, but generally I would recommend a fall planting. If you are going to be doing a spring planting, garlic tends not to need much fertilizer as long as you have a good soil quality. So if you have a good mix of soil that they've been planted in, or even if you're just mixing in some sheep and or cow manure, sometimes that's enough. That's the benefit about garlic, is they're not heavy fertilizer users. You can use just a regular tomato and vegetable food as a shake and feed. They can just shake over that area, and that will actually provide a nice slow release fertilizer that will help size up those bulbs on the garlic. Here's another question that we have, and this is going to be the last one for the day. Should I prune my pink diamond hydrangea tree back now? It has old blooms on it. Yes, so indeed, remove those old blooms that are right now. Pink diamond, I got to remember, I'm just going to look this up while we're here. Pink diamond hydrangea. I just want to look at what type of hydrangea that is because I'm not remembering. Oh, yes, pink diamond hydrangea. blooms on new wood. I just could tell by the picture. And because of that, you can prune it now, no problem whatsoever. So go ahead, remove those blooms. I would cut it all. If you just want to do a regular pruning on it, just cut it back by a third, the entire plant back by a third. So once again, that's our half hour on this day, this Sunday morning, 9 to 9:30. Next week, Tanya Carvalho will be joining me. We'll be talking about some of the new varieties that she saw on some of the different trips to California and as well into Europe. For all those, if you want to get a hold of me, frankieflowers.com is my website. Check me out on Instagram at frankieflowers, at Frank Ferragini, forgive me. You can check me out on Facebook if you're watching there, or on Twitter and all those different things. And I'll see you tomorrow morning on Breakfast Television. And a reminder, guys, always a reminder, gardening is better than therapy. And you know why? At the end of the day, you get tomatoes and you feel good too. Have a great day.